Hello, everybody.
Yes.
Welcome to Marriage Motivating Moments. We are back. We are live and we are here. And look who I have joining me, my husband.
How you doing?
Emmanuel is here, and we are so excited that you decided to stop by and have this conversation with us. We are excited, and we're glad that you're here. Please remember to like, share, ask people to join, listen, subscribe to our podcast on Anchor. Do all of those wonderful things because we are here to serve you. Welcome to Marriage Motivating Moments.
And what we are sharing is based upon what we've been through and not what we are going through now. And that's the beauty of Marriage Motivated Moments.
Absolutely.
So we're going to get right into this.
We have our guest here in our home with us, and he has some questions that he's going to be asking us, and we are going to answer these questions unplugged. All right, so let's get right to it.
So this is your first episode of the new season. Curating from Billy Boys magazine. And so we just want to get right into it and ask some questions that everybody wants to know. So first of all, we'll start off with something simple. I know you guys for a very long time, but I don't know how you met.
That's a very interesting question. So I'm going to jump in and then my wife, because I always tell the story the best way. So I'm going to jump in and then, well, we met in July of 1999 at approximately 8:25 p.m. I'll never forget the date and time, right in front of the Elks Club in New Brunswick, New Jersey. Myself and Reverend Al Sharpton came to protest police brutality killing of a young brother by the name of Sean Potts. And my wife's cousin, Kathy Gurrell, told her she had to come and meet this bad brother that was coming with Reverend Al Sharpton to speak. And at that time, when I met my wife, at that time I had one son, and his name was Shahid Emmanuel. And my wife had a son, and his name was Christian Nasik, 7 years old at that time. And he's just a fabulous young man. And so less than 2 months later, I asked her to marry me on a Thursday night at the prayer meeting at Abundant Life Family Worship Center in New Brunswick, New Jersey, where our dear friend Bishop Paul Morton, but no, Bishop George C. Wright and Pastor Mary C. Wright. And that was on a Thursday evening, and that's when I proposed to her to marry me. And through the course of our 30-year marriage, we had 4 weddings. The first one occurred on January the 1st, 1992 at Abundant Life Family Worship Center. And that wedding was presided by Bishop George C. Wright and Mary C. Wright. And on May the 24th in 1994, we had a wedding in Jerusalem, Israel. And that's when we went to Israel then. And then on July 26, 1998, we had our dream wedding at Adif Israel Congregation in Lawrenceville, New Jersey. And then most recently, we celebrated our 30th anniversary. And we did something very unique. We held a ceremony in Destin, Florida on August the 13th of 2021. And we was at the Sandestin Resort, and we had a fabulous time. So.
Well, I mean, did you leave any room for me?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell. We did meet. He asked me to marry him. He said almost 2 months. I think it was 2 weeks in.
Well,
he was trying to ask me to marry him, and then we had set the date for a year later after we met.
That's too long.
And then he came back and said, "No, we're not getting married May of next year. We getting married in January." So I really didn't know. We didn't know each other. We met. We connected. It was like an instant connection, though. It was like one of those things where you meet somebody and it's just like, boom, you're connected. And that's really how it really happened. And so he asked me to marry him. I said, yes, I was ready to get married at that point. But I didn't really know him. But I was like, he's doing everything right at this point. Like, why not? And here we are 30 years later. We made it through.
And we made it through. Okay.
So y'all kind of went through that just a tad bit fast. What do you remember the first time? I heard this from you. I just want to hear it from you. The first time that he actually introduced himself, do you remember the first words that he said to you?
The first time when I met him, he was looking at me like he was mesmerized, like I was just a plain girl with a ponytail, no makeup, no nails, though I was a young girl. I was preaching in the church at that time, evangelist. And when he met me, he was just like, he didn't even say words, but his actions, his eyes, everything was like, he wouldn't let my hand go when they introduced. So, you shake somebody's hand and then you pull back, and he was like, held on to my hand the entire time. I'm like, ooh, he a little strong and a little forceful, but
I'm gonna let that go. What's wrong with you?
And that's really how
when the lion see it, he got to go for it. That's all I can tell you.
So all right, so perfect. You were Elianah, you was a evangelist in the church.
Mm-hmm.
But Emmanuel, you came from an Islamic upbringing. And you had already been married twice before.
Mm-hmm.
So that's two different opposites of the spectrum. So let's talk about those two merging together to create a marriage. How does one do that?
Well, I was community activist and what have you, and it's like steel sharpens steel. So when I saw my wife, I saw the power in her, and I was she's right. I was mesmerized. I mean, she was all that and some chips, brother. And I couldn't do nothing but lick my lips and said, I got to get this here. This is mine. And that's how I went at it. I'm just going to be very honest with you. I mean, man, look at her. I mean, come on, man. I mean, what do you think? I lost my mind? No. I had to put down my leg hard the next day. And Danny, let me tell you something. The next day, this sister was feeding me buffalo wings and wiping the side of my mouth.
Yeah. Well, what they got to do with the evangelism? Was there any type of points where your religious aspects bumped heads?
Well,
did you have to get past that? How did you get past that?
That happened. I mean, that was a growth process for us.
Like even Pacific.
But no, that was a growth process. I mean, over time, because I came from a different thinking and thought process, and she came from a different one. But if there's any truth to the saying, the opposite attractions. You feel what I'm saying? But once we came together, we started to grow and went through some tremendous growing pains, and that's what we're going to share throughout Marriage Motivated Moments and Absolutely. How we got to this point. That's why I say we're not here to discuss. We going through something. No, we've been through it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So we talking about how we can also help others go through, because you can't help nobody if you ain't never walked their walk. We don't walk the walk, and we're still standing.
We walked several walks.
Yeah, we did some marathons.
We did some walks.
So when y'all got married 4 times, y'all got actually different marriages, or like marriage, like
no, it was a different level for us each time we did get married. Yes, sir.
Each time we did get married.
It represented a different level of growth and development in our marriage.
Right, even financially as well, it was a different level of growth
Absolutely.
And development. Our first marriage, we just had like a nice small church wedding, not really lavish, but it was beautiful.
Absolutely,
it was absolutely beautiful. And then when we did that, the transitioning from Judaism, when we started studying
Absolutely.
And learning the real names, the meaning of the Hebrew life and the meanings of Jesus's name and his real name, which is Yeshua. And we started going down that path of learning. And then we decided we wanted to go back to the land and renew our vows.
Right.
And then once we finished studying Judaism, that's when we had the wedding of our dreams. I should say both of our dreams. We had that wedding, which was a girl's dream wedding he gave to me at that point. And then this year, 30th wedding on the beach. It was absolutely beautiful.
Because as you said, like I was married twice before I met her. And I was married once in 1981 and then again in 1989. And they didn't last long. So, I had the experience that I knew that, because I'm a Marian type of guy, I'm a family man. I believe in nation building. So it was, I knew when I saw her that, hey, whatever I got to go through, I got to get this.
Now, speaking of nation building, actually leads up to our next question.
Mm-hmm.
This came from your background as well. You actually were conceived children while you was married, outside of the marriage. Did your upbringing have anything to do with that? With the decision on taking on, you took on another wife. So, how were you able to maintain 2 women, 2 households? What's that whole process?
Well, yes. My father had 2 wives. He had my mother and another woman. My mother's name is Sakina, and people will call her Butch. And the other woman's name was Maida. And my father had 2 wives when I was very young. But in our home with me and my wife, we raised all of my 8 children in my home. And my father, his name was Imam Shahid Salahuddin Al-Amin, and my mother's name was Sakina Al-Mustafa. And they taught me they're good. And they taught me how to reject and not settle or be governed by the mindset that was given to us by our oppressor and our slave masters thinking. I was taught at a very early age to return fully to the thought process and the thinking we had prior to slavery in America. I was born and raised in a Muslim household under Islamic religion, and I practiced Islam for 20 years of my life, regardless to my trials and tribulations through that first 20 years of my sojourn. But they also taught me something beyond Black nationalism and do for self that provided me with a superior and a supreme thinking over an oppressed mind that was driven into our people throughout slavery, through the channels of slavery, and not the mind of beating us and torturing us into slave mentality, and the thinking and the ways and the life that they gave us as a slave. They taught me from my father's genitals into my mother's womb. And I'm going somewhere with this, but you got to understand where I come from. And these bandits took everything away from us. They completely removed our names. Now, we in Black History Month, but they completely removed our names. They took our women and our daughters. They raped them and raped us of our true religion, our true way of life. The Black man and Black woman, for the most part, lost all of our true knowledge of ourselves, and beat into us their alien religion that we knew nothing about. And they gave us a good book called The Good News. And the good news that they gave us, because they had 2 separate Bibles then. You had a Bible you gave slaves, and you have a Bible that they kept. And so therefore, what? Let me finish my statement, baby. Okay. So therefore, I'm going to get through this here. Marriage motivated moments. Y'all see what's happening, right? So therefore, they beat it into us. And my mother, before her fall, used to tell me, just after I had my second divorce, she said, son, she called me Samad, that's my middle name. You are going to have some serious challenges because we taught you different and you held on to those principles. So as we go along in the future episodes of Marriage Motivated Moments, we're going to talk about some of those principles and Our quest was always to fully return to the lifestyle and the mindset of our people prior to slavery. My parents has always told me this. It would take close to 200 years for us to remove ourselves from the thoughts and the mindset of our oppressor and return back to the secrets that worked among our people. So I'm going to end and say this. You know, all men are not alike. We're not monolithic. There are different types of men and different types of women. There are 6 types of personalities for men. I'm an alpha man. I'm built differently. So you got to have a woman in your life that have compatible principles to your personalities, and your personalities got to be compatible to her personalities. And so this is why people don't understand. I got to keep it 100 that all men are not alike. And so when you come into those understanding of those different personalities and principles, then you will know how to develop. See, my wife has always been a very strong woman, and she's married to a strong man. And so when we went back just before COVID came, we went back to Africa, to the door of no return. And we went to the door of no return in Africa to do what? Because they said that we will never return back through their walkway. So we walked backwards in the door of no return in synagogue, Dakar synagogue, because we wanted to reestablish ourselves back into the land and the principles and the lifestyle of our father. Now I want to say this about divorce. And I'm going to ask our producer if he will put up the map of divorce, because I want you to see that according to the United States National Center of Health Statistics, approximately 4 to 5 million people, look at this on the screen for a second. Approximately 4 to 5 million people get married every year in the United States. And approximately 55 to 69% of those marriages eventually end up in divorce. Now, all that red that you see on this map, all this red on this map represent the divorce rate across the world. And this just came out in 2022. So I ain't make this up. So this just came out in 2022. And this map shows what? That 2/3 of the world's marriages end in divorce. Now look at Africa on this map. Keep it up there, brother. Look at Africa on this map. Look how there's hardly no divorce rate in Africa or in the islands that predominantly controlled by our people that kept the same principles and marriage values that our forefathers did before slavery. So if we're going to have proper marriages, and if the black man and black woman really want to really live and build an institution of marriage, then we have to go back to the ways of our forefathers, because it worked then and it's sure enough working now. And if you look down in South Africa, the little piece of purple down there, and that little piece of purple, if you look at the percentage charts, represent basically 0. So they like 0.000. They like 0.0001% of a divorce in South Africa. And so when you look at this here, the truth is in the pudding. So I'm gonna end on this here.
So
I finished with my question, brother. Let me get to this. So I'm gonna end on this here. So some people will say to my wife, right? When you hear, I would have left her. I would have divorced her. Yes, my wife could have left me. My wife could have packed up and left me and took all her things.
I did
to divorce me. Well, let me finish my statement now. Okay. My wife would have left me. Okay. My wife would have packed her things up and left. But what is that going to do? All I'm going to do, bro, is pack my stuff and follow her. So she can pack up, and she could have packed up and left me. All I'm going to do is pack my stuff and my Bernie Mac. All I'm going to do here is pack my stuff, and I'm going right with her. I'm going right with her. She ain't going away from me. Probably put too much work in. So that's where it's at, man. So for me, I'm built differently. But the sacred writings reveal this: our wives make a choice to come back here with us on this planet. Our wives make a choice. When a man got to come back because he done damaged his soul, he got to come back to this planet to correct it. And our wives make a choice to come back to here with us to help us correct our wrong. And so what's better for me to have than a firestone preaching, praying, anointed woman back in my back and helping me and praying me through my sojourn?
Pretty sure she prayed a lot dealing with you.
Oh, she prayed a whole lot.
So,
oh yeah, she prayed a whole lot dealing with me.
All right, but I just want you to know that was 20 minutes.
No, listen.
It's okay. It's okay. So
he gonna get me for taking a long time, but exactly. I ain't gonna. I'm just letting y'all know.
Hey,
okay.
Mass moments.
So let's go back. So I can see you deal with you asked him one question, he answered it for like 20 minutes.
Right, right.
But it's good. He gave it back for what he.
Absolutely, he gave his backdrop. Yes.
So let's put the spotlight on you. You
okay.
know, because obviously we don't have a lot of time, so we can't get into I like to get in detailed moments, but we just do overall. Your backgrounds from different religious aspects.
Mm-hmm.
And you met this man who came from a multi-wife family. Now, how did that come up? And then two, the time, how did you deal with that? We want to know just from her.
Okay.
Well, she didn't interrupt me, but I'm gonna give her hugs.
I didn't interrupt you, honey. I was just letting you know the time frame.
Don't worry about time. This Marisburg Ramon's first episode.
You said you wanted to make stick to the time.
We need right.
From station break identification. No, but for me, when I met him, I did not know any of that. Okay, so and like I said, I met him, and we'll say a month. He asked me to marry him, but then when I met him, he was very much attending church. He had was very much an activist in the community, very strong brother. Like he said, I met him. He was speaking at a rally. Very strong brother. I can always remember. Very articulate, dressed sharp.
Was I clean?
Yes, okay. Clean to the bone. Just like he was just that guy. And so when I met him, I didn't know anything about his father having more than one wife and all of that kind of stuff. This all came up later. Which was fine, but still, like I said, it was his cup of tea, but it wasn't mine. And I let him know that from day one. Like, so years into our marriage, I can remember sitting around having conversations with our friends, and him and another friend of ours, they was talking about, having more than one wife and going back to the days of old and all that stuff. And I used to say, you crazy. That ain't gonna happen with me. I ain't that chick. Now, if women want to do that, they can have that. I ain't knocking nobody for what they want, but I'm just not her. And so that was my whole perspective. Not just because I was a church girl, but because I just knew I did not want to share my man. I just didn't want to do it. I didn't have to do it, and I didn't want to. So I was never one to advocate for having more than one wife, even though we went on that journey together. And y'all gonna have to stay tuned in to hear the continuation of that story, because that will come out little by little. Yeah, as we go along. As we go along, we will definitely be having those conversations. And so for me, like I said, I was an evangelist in the church, and he came right on in, like tried to fit in, coming to church with me, prayer meetings, everything I did, very supportive of me preaching, doing ministry, everything, just one wholehearted, like my rah-rah corner. But I always knew that it was a struggle for him. Like there was always something missing. And he was the guy that was always searching for more elevation in his spiritual life. And so, but I did not know it was going to be the journey that we took. The journey was difficult and hard. But I was the sister, I was determined that I was not going to allow religion to destroy my family. That was my whole thing. Like, I'm not going to divorce somebody because we may have different viewpoints, because at the end of the day, we're serving one master. And that's what people don't understand. Oh, there's a master called Allah. There's a master called God. No, study, learn. Okay, get educated, because there is only one heavenly Father, Yah, the Father of all. Okay, and so I was determined that I was not going to allow that to separate us, and I was willing to learn and gain knowledge from him in order to be able to grow my person. Because, like he said, I was a very strong woman. I was not weak-kneed. I came from a very strong mother, raised right, and so I was a very strong sister. But I had to learn how to scale it back if I was going to be able to maintain this gentleman right here sitting to my right. And so that was my determination. I was just not going to let my marriage be destroyed. And then how we merged the two. A lot of times I had to scale it back. Like I was a praying evangelist, praying in tongues. All of that. He was like, we're not doing, you can't do all that in here. So I'd be like, okay. But when he left, I get out my holy oil, walk through that house, laying hands on his clothes, pillows, everywhere he walked, socks, shoes. You know what I mean? He didn't have to know, but that's what I did. And I knew that God was going to eventually bring us full circle and bring us to together. And so that was a very trying time. A lot of tears, a lot of snotting and crying, a lot of prayers went forth, but here we are. And that was the first part, right? What else did you want to? I'm sorry. That was the religion part.
To be honest with you guys, I want my own interview.
This Masburger, you ain't hijacking high Masburger.
Okay, we're gonna go.
So I'm on the series, brother.
Right. This is
episode 1.
This is episode 1. Danny is going to have. He has his own. I forgot. He corrected me on that. DNA. Okay, but he has his own show. He has his magazine, and he's here with us doing these questions. But I guess he's going to go deep. So we're gonna have time for that today. But we will definitely do a show live with Danny, no problem.
So y'all obviously been through a lot together. Y'all had a lot of trials and tribulations that y'all conquered. Y'all done like obstacles to steer y'all. So this is another challenge of a podcast for Marriage Motivating Moments. Why are you wanting to take on this challenge? What do you have to say toward the people?
Well, what we are sharing is, like I said, is based upon what we've been through. And we learned so much. And if we can go through me, who have a history prior to my wife of 2 divorces, after her, took on another woman and raised 3 other children, but those children predominantly was raised in our home. And we survived that. When you talk about blending families, you talk about some downs and the pains and the suffering that people go through throughout the marriages. I mean, we can write our own book at this point. So what we're attempting to do is share. So, people will come and understand that, whoa, they've been through something. I can talk to them because we know how to do it. And look at us now. You feel what I'm saying? I mean, we're solid. We're a team. And so for me right now, Marriage Motivating Moment is specifically designed for married couples, singles, individuals who are seeking to get married and looking to be encouraged, and for us to share real truths, because there's certain things about men that men don't really want to talk about and share with their spouse, and same thing with women in terms of what's really going on inside of them and what they really seek, because we boxed into something. That's why I showed that map. So when we get into the real secrets of the institution and the value system in marriage, and you look at why the marriages in Africa and in other parts of the world where our people dominate do not come near the divorce rate that you see all across America and across the globe and across Europe, there's a reason for that, man. And it's time that we get real about marriage.
And also, I want to add to that. When you look at that map, though, we have to understand and recognize that in Africa, a lot of those women, and I have women that are in other countries that are in or either the main wife, sister wife, whatever. But in those countries, the women are not dominating. Here in America, we got our own job, our own car, we buy our own house, we buy our own groceries. Whereas in those countries, those women are not those women that are going to go out. They'd rather be taken care of by a man. They'd rather be in a multiple wife situation because the provision is there for them to take care of the children, be taken care of themselves. A lot of them may not have to work. And if one works, somebody else is taking care of the children. So there's a whole science behind why that still works in that country, in those foreign countries. Whereas where you come here to America, you know what I mean? Like I said, we have become very independent women, and we've been raised that we don't have to depend on a man to help us to get to where we want to be. So there's a lot that goes into that. And I wanted to also say that, yes, we raised eight children in this home. However, initially, my husband's last 3 children didn't come to live with us till they were much older. I think the oldest one now is maybe 21 going on 22. So he might have been around 11 years old when they finally came up under one roof. Custody. When you got full custody of it. But it was a challenge. I want to say, I'm not trying to make light of it. I'm not trying to make like it was easy. It was a full challenge. It took a lot of prayer, a lot of snotting and crying, a lot of him wiping my tears, a lot of minks, a lot of Jaguars, a lot of Mercedes. No.
Hey, booby, it's yours.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Yeah.
We got the crazy. That's right, baby. That's right.
Happy birthday, Elianah.
A lot of diamonds, a lot of money.
Made you hot like the West Indies. Now it's time you invest in me. Cause if not, then it's best you leave. If you're playing me, keep it on the low.
But it took, and I would not sit here and act like it was an easy task. But it was a task that we conquered together. You know what I mean? I couldn't have done it by myself. I couldn't have done it with those who were around me and prayed for me, encouraged me. But I thank God that today, here we are 30 years later, and we're talking to you, trying to encourage you to stay with it and that you can do this as well.
So if I was to watch Marriage Motivating Moments at our podcast, what can I expect?
You can expect, listen, we're going to talk about marriage, relationships. We're going to talk about sex. We're going to talk about pornography. We're going to talk about oral sex. We're going to talk about upside down sex. We're going to talk about love. We're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about commitment. We're going to talk about those finances. We're going to talk about those real truths that we don't want to talk about. We're going to talk about the different ways that you can make love to your partner, okay, that we don't know. Nobody's having those conversations with us. We're going to have those deep, hard conversations. We're going to talk about what the man expects from the woman, what the woman is expecting from her man. We're going to tell you how you can make it work. We're going to tell you that life brings changes. We're going to that it don't matter that he was saved and in the church and so are you. And now, y'all don't know what to do because your marriage is messed up and jacked up. Guess what? Because there's a reason behind that. Because one thing people fail to understand, and I don't care if you're in a synagogue, if you're in a masjid, or if you're in the church, people are human and they have a right to change. So just because you married the prophet, don't mean the prophet gonna always be the prophet. The prophet might change his mind and say, I don't want to be the prophet no more. I just want to be a husband. And we have to be willing to go through those changes and work with one another through those changes. You know what I mean? So
we're gonna talk about why marriages don't work today. We're gonna talk about what must be done to keep marriage divine and holy as prescribed by the Creator on the principles of his guidance. People today are marrying their pets. People are having weddings with their pets. Women are marrying themselves, having full weddings, bridesmaids and everything. No, the Isaac brothers made a song. It's your thing. Do what you want to do with it. I can't tell you who to sock it to. Well, there's an instruction on who you're supposed to be socking it to. So we're going to talk about that. What do you do with a hard-on? How do you handle a hard-on? We're going to talk about that. Do you have what it takes to withstand the worst? Oh, we love being around when it's good times and it's better. But can you really withstand the worst times? And nobody knows what their journey is going to predict in their marriage.
Absolutely.
Nobody can tell what the worst is going to be. But can you withstand the worst? Living in a world of rebellious children in your household. Blended families with rebellious children. These are some things to really think about.
And then we're going to talk about those things that you write into us about. You know what I mean? You're going to DM us. You're going to subscribe to our podcast. You're going to hit us up on our YouTube page and say, hey, we need y'all to have this conversation. We need y'all to talk about this. We need to talk about that. There's going to be nothing that we won't be willing to discuss. Absolutely. Right here on Marriage Motivating Moments.
How can they get in contact with you guys?
They can go to our Marriage Motivating Moments we have a profile pages. We got 3 pages. We got our personal pages, Emmanuel and Elianah Avraham. We on TikTok, Marriage Motivated Moments. We on Instagram, Marriage Motivated Moments. We have a YouTube channel,
Marriage Motivated Moments.
So we even got a website. So they go on our profile, click the website, find out how to contact Marriage Motivated Moments. So
or
they
you can
reach
email us Marriage Motivated Moments
at gmail.com. So I mean, so it's all there. And so we, but we want to let everybody know, because we have a special tribute to the Queen behind us, and that's my wife's mother, who passed away on this very day a year ago. And so we're going to end with a tribute to her, but we want you to write down. We will be back with our next broadcast on Tuesday, March the 1st. We're going to do 2 a month, but we'll do our next one on Tuesday, March the 1st at 7 p.m. And please bring your notebook, because we're going to give you some information that you really need to take and work on and apply in your relationship, in your marriage, in your family. And so we have a tribute that the producer is going to put up.
Before he does that, this flower back here represents all of our 8 children. These are everybody's favorite colors in our family. And I had someone make that up because I wanted to have a representation of all of them in our home. They are all grown and gone and on their own. Hallelujah.
But they're not out of our pocket still.
But this is a representation of my home, of all of them, everybody's favorite colors, including me and my husband. So yes, tribute to my mom. Rest well, mommy. I miss her so very much. I don't want to cry because I'll start. I've been crying all day. Pulled it together for tonight because I know that this is going to bless you. It's going to bless your wife. It's going to bless your family. So please remember to join and follow, subscribe, share,
repost.
like, repost the video, everything. We're going to get into it right here on Marriage Motivating Moments. It's going to be unplugged and y'all are going to love it. All right. So thank you for joining. Please watch the tribute to my mommy. Amen. She would have been 80 just this past January 17th. Her and my mom had a twin. They would have been 80, and we miss them very, very much. So here's to you, mommy. We love you.